Hello, everybody. Welcome. So happy to have you joining us at Elevating Your Life. And today we are chatting with just an amazing woman from England area. We have with us Clare Langan. She is the author of Simply Be More. And it is a collection of inspiring and soothing sketches using animals and nature to illustrate time-presented wisdom. Life isn't determined by where we have come from. It is where we are going that is important. I love that, Clare. Clare has lived it, and rather than talk about it, has written it and now drawn it. Clare is an international flautist is how you pronounce it in England, who has taken her communication skills as a performer to diverse audiences worldwide. She has pursued her passion for music her entire life and then had an incessant calling to write a book. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited to meet you, Clare, and share you with the audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here with you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Would you like to share any more of your background and kind of brought you to, being a worldwide flutist and now an author? I mean, that's pretty spectacular.
Well, you know what? When I look back over even just the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I have to pinch myself and say, how has this happened? But I think if the world changed, in 2020, wasn't it? Was it 2020 when the pandemic hit in sort of in March? So up until that point, I was pursuing such a busy career. I was doing sort of 100 flights a year, flying from cruise liner to cruise liner, and then doing concerts on land in England, performing my one-woman flute show, and loving every minute, living the dream. And I never gave a thought about, drawing or anything. And then when the pandemic hit, I was invited by an amazing hypnotherapist called David Knight to be part of an incredible life coaching course. And I thought, this is an opportunity I just can't miss. And I had the time to take up on all these opportunities that were there. And it was with a gentleman called Chad E. Cooper, and it was called Legendary Lifestyles. And honestly, it truly was life-changing because he set us different tasks each week. And you know what? It kept me going. And it was such a time. Obviously, it was a terrible time for the world, but that for me personally, it was a time of great healing and of great rejuvenation. So I feel very, I can now see that now, but at the time, I just had all my work for the next year completely wiped away. So I was like, what am I going to do? So it was a really important reset button for me. Um, and one of the challenges set by the life coach, Chad, was to do something you hadn't done since a child for 100 consecutive days. And so I was racking my brains thinking, what can I do? What can I do? And there was something, a little seed in my mind, and it was saying, well, your art teacher at school always said that you shouldn't have given up art. And I have this written in my like end of school book. And I was like, maybe I should do some drawing again. And I'd really got into running, because I don't know what it was like in the States, but in the UK, you were allowed a certain amount of time to be outside to do exercise. And so I thought, I've got to make the most of this. And I live in a beautiful part of England. So I was running a lot. I was meditating, and on my runs, I'd be listening to amazing podcasts. And I was just like in this real high vibration zone, and I was looking at the nature, and I was having all these incredible ideas. And so I did my first sketch, and the first sketch was of a snail, and I suddenly had all these words come into my mind, and so I wrote the little words around the sketch. And then the second day I thought, I can do this for 100 consecutive days if I do something not too difficult. And so I think the next day I did a rose, and anyway, a few days went by, and then it was the next week that we had to present what we were doing to the group. And so I shared the first few sketches, and everybody was really nice. And I was like, oh, they're just being kind. But no, and then there's a lady in the group, which is just so unbelievable. And she was a literary agent. And she said, Claire, there's something in this. I love it. And I'm going to challenge you to send it to a publisher. And I was like, are you crazy? This might be pushing me a little bit too far. And, but everybody was saying, well, if you got to come out of your comfort zone, nothing grows in there. It was all that sort of thing. Because I am that person who buys every single self-help book. So I was like, yeah, I've got to push myself now. So I sent it off to the publisher. And within, I think, like 36 hours, they'd written back and they said, we love it and we want to publish it. And I said, but I've only like sent you, I think it was like 12 sketches. And they're like, we believe you can do 100 of them, and we love it. And so then that's when the challenge started, because every day I'm like, will I be able to do it? Yeah. And some of the sketches, obviously they're all different, but I honor the fact I did 100 consecutive days. So some days they're really very detailed, other days they're not so, but it was important for me that I had the 100 in there, and it wasn't like as I improved I put, I switched them around or anything. But I feel that the message on each and every one, I can't really explain. I think it's because I was doing in such a meditative zone, and I had the time to do I made the time, I should say, to do all the things which I personally know that if I do that, then my life falls into a different sort of rhythm and I feel more in flow. And so I was having all these ideas, and I had the time to express myself and really explore a different side of my personality that I'd never had the chance to do before, and to find out that I could sketch, and my teacher was right. I have got that skill within me. So it was a really magical period in my life, and it just taught me so much. And it taught me to simply be more, which is, was such a great lesson to learn. And I think the most important sketch I did is the last one, and that is simply be more you. And that's it. What I've learned and what I try and remember every single day is that within me, within each of one of us, there's just so many gifts, and we just have to have the confidence to allow our lights to shine and to allow those gifts to come out, and to be the best version of ourselves, and just be true to our inner calling. And that's the most important. Just be true to yourself and let your light shine. And each and every one of us is completely amazing, and we've got so much in us that we've yet to discover. No matter if you're, and I have to say, sorry, I just feel like I'm talking.
I love it. Yes.
So I was presenting the images on one of the cruises that I was working on, and I tell you, it was just, so I'd performed my show, and there's a segment in my show where I share the images whilst I play at the side, and they put the big screens down and they show the images. And at the end, this lady came up to me and she said, I'm 75 years, Claire. And she said, I've always known there's more in me, but I've never had the confidence to do it. And she said, but seeing what you've done, I feel I'm just going to go for it, and I'm going to do it because I know it's in me. And I said, I know it's in you. I know it's in each and every one of us. But for sometimes we just get in a rut, or we think we get to a certain age and we don't keep on trying new things, or we think, oh, well, you know what, I love my life as it is. But for me, I always think, there's always more that we can do, and there's always more adventures to have. And that's what it's taught me. So.
Oh, that is beautiful. And that is a beautiful message. Just simply be you. And every one of your images, you can just look at that, think about that message, and let that settle in. And it can just give you a beautiful feeling and a beautiful message. And that must have been amazing every day for 100 days. Okay, what am I
Yeah.
going to do today? Wow, that must have been an amazing experience.
Yeah, I think because I was doing the meditating and I was doing our, the artists' pages. If anybody's, I'm sure there's people who are familiar with that. And it was where like you spend the artist's way and you spend a little time every morning just writing. So you write 3 pages and you just let it all flow. And it's just amazing. The ideas would come and when I was on the run, I'd see a hare, or I'd see a deer, and then I'd be pondering, well, I know I'm going to sketch that when I get home, but what is it? If I channel being a deer, what are they thinking about? Because I know they're not got a productivity list like I have. They're not ticking off these things. They're in the zone and they're just being the best deer they can be. They're living their best life every day. They're not worried about things. They're just like us humans. And I thought I can learn so much from nature. Nature has got every lesson in there for us if we allow it to have, allow it to marinate in us, and just if we listen with our heart, we can truly learn so much, even from the tree. Look at a tree. Every year they lose their leaves, but they rejuvenate and come back, more beautiful. And as they're in the fall, that's when they're the most exquisite. And that's so much like us. I do a lot of work now with people who are in their sunset years. And whilst some, a lot of the world thinks that youth is the most, most important time, and the most beautiful time. But I see the most beauty in some of our seniors, and they've taught me so much. And just like a tree, that's when their colors are most radiant and gorgeous.
Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful message. That's a beautiful message. And, the title, Simply Be More, we can be more every day, and it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be simple. The
Exactly.
messages you've shared and your beautiful pictures. Oh my gosh, you are such an artist. But really, it is simple, and we can simply be more every day. I love that message. I just love it, Claire.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's a challenge, isn't it? I just am been listening to on Audible, amazing book by Oliver Burkeman called 4,000 Weeks. And apparently that's the average number of weeks as humans have. And the lessons in there are just incredible, because he was a productivity expert, and he's like stripped it all away and he's rethought everything, and he's like, it's like, what's the essence, what's most important? And he was talking about this monk who, he was taking these ice baths every day, and if he felt that he was fearing it, it would make the pain even worse. However, if he just lived in that moment and embraced the cold, he could accept it much better and endure it. And he said, and that taught him that even and that made him really reappreciate the tiny little things we do every day, like the washing up. Can I be in that moment and simply be more doing the washing up? Just that's enough.
Yeah.
We're so often multitasking, doing other things. We don't see the animals out there multitasking. No, they're just, they're my dog is like, she loves sniffing the flowers, and she's just completely in the zone with the flowers. She's not, looking at her mobile, this is what we're like the whole time, isn't it?
I'm just sniffing today. I love it. I'm happy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so true also that, our mind and being in that calm, open mindset, it affects us physically too. The gentleman that when he, being in ice, I don't know how he did that. But that's amazing, and amazing how his mindset could make a difference to what he felt.
Yes. Yeah. One of my favorite sketches in the book is Champion. I have the winner's mindset. And I think mindset is everything. One of my favorite books is, I've got two favorite books. The first one is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, and then the second is Dr. Edith Eger's The Choice, and they're quite similar in many ways, but it's all about mindset. So how Viktor Frankl could be in the concentration camp, but the one thing that he was in control of was his mindset and how his inner life. And I think that's the thing I've learned most, is that, you know, so many things can happen externally, but it's my choice. And that's the book, The Choice, is all about that. What do I choose in every given moment? Do I choose to simply be more or simply be less?
Yeah, yeah. And would you say, now that you finished this 100 days, you've created this beautiful book, are you continuing to live by those principles and just, oh, today I'm going to be like the deer. Today I'm going to think. How has that affected you since you accomplished this?
Well, it's an amazing story, because in this summer, July of 2021, a lady who founded an amazing nonprofit that I've performed for as a flautist for 20 years. She asked me if I would take over from her running the charity. And I was like, I'm a flute player. I'm not a CEO of a charity. I'm a flute player. And I thought, Claire, how can you write a book called Simply Be More? And then when you're asked to be more in a different way, you say no, and you stop that. So I said yes. And so I tell you, this has been the biggest challenge of my life. And it's like using so many different skills, but I'm so passionate about the nonprofit. And I feel that it's everything. I feel like everything in your life is like a preparation for the next step. And and it feels like that. And sometimes you just got to take the courage, and then to take that first step, then the next step appears. And but if I take little steps, the path is there.
Oh,
and I just have to trust.
So much. What is the name of the nonprofit?
So it's called Lost Chord. That's Lost and then Chord, CHORD, and it provides interactive music sessions for people with dementia.
Oh, so, that's awesome. My husband suffers from dementia. Oh my gosh.
Oh, then I'm sure you'll know how music just is one of the last things the music memory is the last thing to go. And it has been such an honor and a privilege to perform to people who are in a different reality, because it's like very thin veil between the different experiences of this world. And yet I've learned so much from being with people living with dementia. And to see somebody who has not had any verbal communication for months, and then you go in and you play a tune, and then they start singing along with the words. It's just miraculous.
So oh,
yeah,
it is. That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, Claire, gosh, thank you. That is really great. And I do understand also that you have another book that's going to be coming out soon. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so that's it's called Living Each Day the Fortune Cookie Way. And it was funny because I was in New York with a friend, and we were talking, and we just had a Chinese meal, and we had a fortune cookie at the end, and we were reading the motto, and my friend said, well, what would it be like if you lived every day according to one of these mottos? And I went, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So I did it for a year. I know it's weird, but I have to say I can't actually abide the taste of fortune cookie now, because I was eating one every day. But what was so fascinating is there was quite a lot of repetition in them. So I think the fortune cookie writer could do with having a little bit more imagination, because there's a finite number of them. But what was interesting is that certain things kept returning, and I learned so much. If they did return, there was always something more to rediscover and to ponder upon. And I just loved that. That was an amazing experience to do that every day. And
That
it was
is
amazing
so fun.
if
Oh,
you like
how fun.
synchronicity. Yeah, if you believe in synchronicity, then nothing is a coincidence. And it just made life feel so much more magical, and you just think there's so much more to life than meets the eye, I believe.
Yep. And it's okay to be weird. I have always said I'm weird and I'm happy with it, I can be in the
Yeah.
grocery store and hear a fun song. And so I'm walking around dancing as I shop. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah. You're simply being more you. And
Celebrate it.
that's
Yes.
what it's all about.
Yes. That is so true. And there's so much beauty and uniqueness in each one of us. And to be, simply be more you and bring in the perceptions that you remind us of with your book on being more and the pictures you make. It really, that can set the tone for your day, for the steps you take, for your joy. That's really a beautiful thing, Claire.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Gosh. And the title, Fortune Cookie Way. I mean, that's just hilarious. That just sounds adorable. I mean, you're having fun doing all this, aren't you?
You know
Oh,
what? I am.
love
I
it.
am. And it just, you know, it's what, it's so wonderful to have this opportunity to speak to you, because I get bogged down and, I get bogged down in, like, when you kind of just look in a very small way, and then you remember actually how exciting they are. You can get so bogged down in the nitty gritty, but actually if you take a step back and just think, my goodness, which end of the telescope am I looking at? Am I looking at which, and making sure that I'm always looking at the huge panorama, because every day is full of excitement. There's a world of possibilities in all of us and in every single moment.
Yes, yes. I love it. I love it. So what is your wish for Simply Be More? What is your wish that it will share and do for others?
Well, my wish for it is that if anybody just picks it up and they look at one of the sketches and it resonates with them, and they say, you know what, I'm going to allow my light to shine with all my kookiness, my weirdness, and just going to simply be more me, because I was made to shine and shine a light and to just be the best version of myself. I'm not imitating, I'm a creator. I'm not an imitator, I'm a creator.
Oh, I
That's what each
love
and
that.
every single one of us is.
Yes. Yes, we are creators.
Yeah, I don't want, I love social media, but you know what, I want to just be me, and that's valid, and that's brilliant.
And when I was reading about your background, Claire, and realized you were a flautist, what came to me was, oh my gosh, I can only imagine sharing your beautiful music to audiences. And I mean, because that's sending out not only music and energy, a feeling, and I bet seeing what that does for others and their enjoyment. I bet being a musician is absolutely amazing also.
It's the thing I've only ever wanted to do from when I was so I started the flute. I was begging my parents to get me a flute from, as long as I can remember. And I started lessons when I was 7, and I just knew it was the only thing I wanted to do in the world. I just wanted to play music, and just a day without music is just an anathema to me. It's just, I feel so blessed. It's not the easiest career, I have to say. being any kind of artist, in the arts is difficult. And I think of so many of my talented friends who just you know, I think it's a lot of it is the survival of the most persistent, because you just got to keep at it. And if you have that in your heart that that's what you want to be, you've just got to keep going at it, because sometimes it's just around the corner, the break or something.
Yeah.
And I just see that with so many people, that they just think, I just can't do it much longer. But if they just waited a bit longer, it was just there. But maybe it's just that, you know, that's what it is. It's the people who just know they can't do anything else. And that's how I felt. I just thought, if I can't do this, I just don't know what else I'll do. And I've been very fortunate and blessed that I've managed to earn my living playing the flute. And, you know.
Claire, thank you. Yes. And we have just a few minutes left in the show. Please share a website or any information you'd like to share, and what last message you'd like to give everyone today.
Yeah, sure. So it's www.clarelangan.co.uk or simplybemore.co.uk, and I'm on social media, on Facebook. I try to do post as often as I can, but it's just all time. I'm busy doing, and it's a challenge. But you know, I always respond to messages. I'm very passionate about, you know, connecting with people, and my message is just to always listen to that small voice of calm in you, because whenever I've neglected that, it took me down a path which I learned huge lessons from, but I could have avoided some of those lessons, and I could have taken it's like, you know, could have taken a more direct route. So that would be my message, is that, you know, have that stillness, that calm in your life, that so that you can hear that voice and never ignore it.
Yeah. And you know, that it's so true that sometimes the route to get where we're going, that path doesn't go straight forward. We have a lot of turns we have to deal with.
Yeah, we do. But what I realize, that everything informs me as a creator, and the more I experience, the more I can simply be more me. So I try not to neglect any experiences, the good or bad. You know, I have to accept them and make my best choices always. But I always think, you know what, if something is happening that I'm not happy about, I'm like, there's a real lesson in here. This is where the growth is coming. This is where I'm being channeled and challenged. Yeah.
Oh, Claire, thank you so much. This has been so fantastic. Just a thrill to have you on the show, and
thank you for having me.
I'm grateful, and I am going to be looking forward to your next book coming out. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're so welcome. Love, hugs, and blessings. And to everyone out there, love, hugs, and blessings.
Yeah, for
have
sure.
a simple, beautiful, wonderful day today. Big hugs to everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.